Okay, so fix the mic a little bit. Today, oh god, I'm gonna read one of my stories I posted a long time ago. It's called "The Lost Story of the Monster Battle," and yes, it is by me. In case you didn't know, let's get started. I am a 12-year-old fighter named Salmon. What an awful name. Well, Salmon is not my real name, but it's what I want to be called as I tell my story. I have blonde hair, but it's not long, and I don't like to have fun all the time. My mother is a warrior who fights monsters that leak through a giant portal named the Pain Realms Portal. Well, there was a huge monster who stepped out the portal named Grimmy. Now, Grimmy was no joke. He held a scythe that could cut through even spells that were sent at him. As for me, I am a schoolboy who wants to fight, and this is how my story is introduced. 3 o'clock, school's out. Yay! I said to myself, while unknowingly being heard by the kids around me. Then I got up and walked toward the door. Hold on, Salmon, my teacher said. I turned and faced her. Yes, ma'am? I asked. She smiled and spoke, saying, You forgot your bag. But I didn't forget a bag. She then held up a bag with a gold lining. I smiled and took the bag, saying, Thank you, to her, then running out the door. Wow, that was a fail. Um, Behind my back, a wicked smile spread across her face. As I ran, I began to wonder what was within the bag, so I began to unravel the string, holding it shut, then opened it. Once, a, once open, a light shot out that not only shot me, but knocked me back onto my butt. The light then shot straight up, turned towards the portal, going full speed. The portal absorbed the light like a mop absorbs water, and quickly, too. Then the portal turned white, and a roar that caused windows for miles to shatter was heard. People stopped to look at the portal and stood there staring as a gigantic demon stepped out. Dad! I said, and began running toward the portal grounds. Unfortunately, I arrived too late. Okay, hold on. When I arrived, the guards were in battle with the giant demon and being murdered by smaller demons. In fact, the demons were pouring out of the portal. My father noticed me and threw me a sword with the crest of our family. Finally, my number one want was to become complete. I slashed it and hit a demon on the shoulder, and it turned to a fine white powder, which blew away in the wind. The giant demon was on the move now toward the inner part of the city. I couldn't help I couldn't let that happen. But when I turned around, I felt a blade go right through my chest cavity and out the front of my chest. Falling to the floor, I could hear my father screaming as the blade retreated. He ran and slashed the demon that stabbed me, lifting my head off the ground. But it was too late. Things were going blurry. Father, protect the portal, I said before losing consciousness. Not so far away. My not wait, where am I? Where am I? Things going blurry, blah, blah, blah. Not so far away, my soul awoke in a place of pitch darkness. I couldn't see much, but one object stood out to me, a woman in the darkness, humming a song that was familiar to me. Funeral march? I asked her. She turned and faced me, and started to walk towards me. Yes, she replied. Does that mean I'm dead? I just asked. I asked her with a fear in my words. Oh, well, yes, she started, but I can give you life back. Damn planes. She finished now, smiling. At first, I didn't want to answer, for I thought she was crazy, but obviously my body thought differently as I said okay. She giggled and started to dance as she faded away. I awoke not far from the battle where my father must have carried me before going to get revenge. As a warrior, he could not let me die in vain. I stood and felt myself for the stab wound. This grammar is horrible. I stood and felt myself for the stab wound, but couldn't find it. However, I did find a note which read, "Dear boy, you now have the power to stop the monster battle, but it's sleeping within you. There will be no end until it's awakened. Not only that, but I healed you and revived you. I enhanced your anger with magic and sadness with healing ability. Good luck, Diana." I put a note away and ran toward the battlefield to see what was happening. What I saw was beyond my belief. The demons had defeated all the guards and were following the bigger demon. So I decided to try something, charging at them like an idiot. "Ah!" I screamed as I got closer and closer. Just when I slashed and had defeated one of them, two others turned around and prepared for battle. They began to swing and slash at me, but before they hit me, an arrow went through both of them. "Boy, get back!" a man said, jumping from a tree, slashing another monster, cutting it in half. It also turned to a white powder. "Thanks, I guess," I said under my breath. "Told you get back, boy!" he yelled at me. I started to get angry at him. Then I charged at the giant monster, but before I could get there, the man jumped in front of me, slashing and swinging his blade at me. I panicked and began glowing unknowingly. There was some confusion as the man lifted 20 feet off the ground and flew far away as if thrown. How the hell did that happen? Could this be the power they promised me, or be some error? Probably an error. Either way, nothing was standing in the way of me and the monster. So the give me a second. That's swallow. And so began the monster battle, even though it already started. I was running quickly toward the monster while dodging trees and bushes. There was lightning now, lighting up the entire area as I got closer and closer to the giant monster. I kept thinking, "You're going down. Yes, you ugly mofo of a monster." But when I came to, it was already looking at me. I halted in fear and my eyes widened as a black beam of demonic energy blasted me through my chest and knocked me tumbling against a tree. Why does it sound familiar? I could hardly breathe, but I tried to stand up anyway. What was that? I thought. I soon came to realize that with such a powerful attack, I was not going to win. I was not against a D-rank monster. Oh no, I was against a B-rank. There was a moment in which our eyes locked onto one another. However, it was a short moment. The monster then started to move toward me, ever so slowly. That's when I realized I couldn't move at all. My body was too afraid. "Someone!" I called out. "Someone help me!" I said as loud as I could. That wasn't very loud. When suddenly a flash? No, a person's magic attack. Yes, the monster was hit by my mother's magic. She was watching the whole thing. She smiled at me, then slapped me in the back of the head. "It's great you want to defend the world from demons and monsters, but don't you think it's time to give up dying?" she said in a serious tone. I nodded and started to charge along beside my mother. "Taro, Simon, Hezarala!" she said, waving. That was her, by the way. That's how she sounds. She said, waving. She said, waving her arms around. Upon finishing incantation, a horse of lightning was created and galloped gracefully toward the old narrator died from reading this horrible crap. Galloped gracefully toward the monster, exploding on contact. The monster was weakened now, That's when I felt it. The same chill as when Grimmy attacked before. Something was entering our world through the portal. Grimmy! I yelled. While the mother was finishing the demon off, she turned around and frowned. Please, God, no, she said. Grimmy was definitely what stepped out of the portal, but it looked different. He had golden hair, which reached his back, a black and gold scythe, which the blade was covered in blood, probably that of other demons. There was a powerful radiation. Please ignore the people outside my door because they continued to yell. There was a powerful radiation of death flowing off him. Not only that, not only had that, but the way, oh God, I'm going to die from the grammar. The way he stood there gave even me the creeps. I looked around for somewhere to hide, but I saw none. All I saw was trees and bushes, which wouldn't help at all. Are you ready? He said in a dark and evil, twisted voice. That was an evil, twisted one. Oh God, another plane. He began charging at Mother, and Mother readied herself. Grimmy jumped and launched a powerful demon spell known as Death to a King, Death's Voice. And Mother couldn't move as fast enough to dodge it. She was hit directly with a sound wave and slammed hard into the ground, tumbling backwards, blah blah blah. When she finally stopped tumbling, she was unconscious, so I realized it was most likely up to me to stop this S-rank demon. But what could I do? I ran toward Grimmy and he smiled at me. Then he disappeared right before my eyes, reappearing behind me. You are weak, he said in an insulting voice, before kicking me in the back, and I fell face first into the ground. Time to die, he continued. He lifted his scythe above his head. I closed my eyes tight. That's when a pulse of power inside me awoke. Grimmy jumped back, watching me carefully. He was nothing. Noticing that he was noticing that my powers were awakening and I was getting stronger every second he wasted. I do not know if this was what he wanted all along, but he seemed content. Mother awoke and sat up, confused and dazed. My eyes turned a blackish version of the original color, and I lost control. I began roaring as loud as I could, and lightning struck me. There was a loud explosion as trees and bushes were ripped from the ground and thrown across the land away from me. Such power, Grimmy said. I started to float to my feet when looked at Grimmy. Shall we continue? I said to excuse me. I said to him in an antagonizing voice. Yeah, he answered. He charged at me, disappearing now and then, but I simply raised one palm and sent a shockwave through the ground, which sent Grimmy flying. Grimmy flipped over and landed on his feet, then charged at me again. This time he had something planned. His scythe was glowing a black color. Is that it? I said to him, teasing him more. He swung his scythe and a very deep gash appeared on my chest. I never saw what he was planning, but now he did it. Yet I didn't care. I raised my hands to the sky and lightning struck down. Death to a king, I said, Grimmy's eyes widening. White lightning slash! I finished and swung my hand, making a lightning bolt hit Grimmy hard in his neck. Grimmy screamed and of course started laughing. But how? I yelled. Grimmy started to float toward the portal. You failed to pique my interest, he said. Now I shall obliterate your world, he finished. Right when all hope seemed lost, and it seemed I had lost the battle, the girl from my death appeared in front of the portal and shined upon it. The portal closed completely, and Grimmy stood there stupidly staring at her. Who do you think you are? Grimmy said in an angry tone. I picked up the sword while Grimmy wasn't looking and stabbed him through the neck. Hold on, gotta say this right. Hold up. Irasali Sate Rashu, I said, and Grimmy turned to stone. As long as the sword remains in Grimmy, I won't have to fight him anymore, or so I thought. You really are a fool, is what I heard as I turned my back. Grimmy was alive somehow, but how? How did this happen? I turn around and see the sword I stabbed through Grimmy's break and dissolve. Is there no end to this? I said to myself. No end to this. Let's see. Okay, I know where I am. Grimmy turned to his normal form again, this time releasing a powerful aura that radiated through his entire body. You're gonna smell like deep fried chicken. The fuck? Grimmy said. Grimmy was smiling now and charged toward me. His fists were clenched as if something was tightly wrapped around them, and then he swung. I managed to dodge the first swing, moving back a little, but the second swing, which came right after landing across my face, hurting me badly. I stumbled back with a busted lip, a bloody nose, and the pain of losing did sound horrible at first, but a moment of thought of quick death sounded like a not so bad an idea. At the moment, I could not think of any way to defeat Grimmy. Also, oh wait, I already read that. Not that Grimmy gave me a chance to think. Here he comes, I said to myself. Grimmy was charging again. This time his hands returned to claws. Overdue, I heard from an unknown voice. A picture of a woman started flashing through my head. The more I wondered who it was, the less I could see it. Overdue, the woman said. Do not attempt to stop this battle, I said to the woman. The woman simply stood there and once again repeated, overdue, like a library book. As she did, I finally caught on. Grimmy was close now, and I jumped off his head onto a tree branch. Overdue was a spell, an English spell which binds the evilest person in battle to a contract with Satan. Overdue! I yelled, throwing my hands toward the sky. The wind picked up and lightning stopped. As the sky started to split, angels sang out and fled as the ground spewed chains of fire. I could only hope that I was good. The spell had begun. Putting a final signal, I dropped my hands, and Grimmy frowned. Blood dripped off my chin, and something told me that Grimmy had agreed. The chain spun around Grimmy and chained him up. Then he screamed, Eratos, Miru, Takuro! As he was pulled into the ground. It is over, I said Grimmy. Once Grimmy was fully in the ground. All the dead bodies on the field disappeared into the ground, as if Grimmy was sucking them in. Grimmy was defeated at last, and at last I could return home. When I got home, my mother slapped me across the face and said, Don't you ever do that again. But then she held me and said, My monster-killing son thing of my gaga. The class stared at me in disbelief as I flipped the last page of my essay and said, And that's my essay. Any questions? A boy raised his hand and I pointed at him and he said, That was an interesting story, but my question is, did you know about monsters in Calico City? I shook my head no, and the teacher started clapping as the class joined her. Next stop, Calico City. And that is the story